après le tremblement de terre là, nous-mêmes, même gouvernement est victime tout. Mais il y a un peu d'organisations qui viennent dans le pays. Après 4 ans fin passé, la population n'a pas de côté pour y aller. Pour la population est obligée à souterrain vidéo, à l'espace vidéo pour y faire transporter.
A camp is a settlement that is temporary, and it's meant only to be set to respond to specific need. It can be established to respond to a natural catastrophe, as in the case of Haiti, or armed conflict, where people seek shelter and protection and satisfaction of basic needs.
A spontaneous camp is something that often emerges quite rapidly. In terms of organization, it's quite similar to an informal community in a city. There isn't necessarily a very, let's say, visible logic to the organization. The growth pattern is quite informal. Many of the camps, the spontaneous camps, emerge on land that is available. Planned camps are set up by planners. The visual appearance of the camp looks more organized. The minimum standards says that it should be 30 to 45 square meters per person. Based on the size of the land that is made available, you can calculate how many people you can offer a solution for. Site planning is mainly the meeting between international minimum standards and a specific context on site. So a layout or a plan for a site is always planned after several site visits, trying to take into consideration cultural sensitivity, so that acquires, let's say, an understanding of the specific situation that you're in. At the same time, to guide and to, let's say, streamline the work of planning a new settlement, sometimes you have to respond very quickly. Then the international minimum standards are very valuable and useful.
Many IDP camps and refugee camps, not only in Haiti but elsewhere, the populations live in extremely vulnerable environments, vulnerable not only crime to sexually based violence, to other human-caused events, let's say, but as well to natural disasters.
La pluie tombée et l'eau toujours entrée dans tantôt. Et puis, disons que l'environnement paralysé net, parce que le monde ne va pas passer, même machine ne va pas passer. On a un peu de la boue.
What we're doing here now is some mitigation work, small-scale mitigation work, in order to protect some of the shelters and some of the population from some of these risks that they face.
Managing a camp means providing certain services directly, but also means coordinating other services that we cannot provide, but other organizations can provide. In camps, we provide access to protection services with a particular focus to the needs of women, especially sex and gender-based violence, but also we provide access to medical services and to education.
The context of an emergency shelter is basically providing a relief until someone can find a better option. The first stage would be what we call usually an emergency shelter, which can be either made out of tarpaulin. A tent is, for example, an emergency shelter. And that's really for the immediate need. It's easy to distribute. Usually a tarpaulin has a lifespan maybe of 6 months, maybe even less in some places.
Dès qu'il y a une urgence, dès qu'il y a une situation critique, ces droits sont mis en péril car les personnes ne peuvent plus avoir accès à l'eau potable, ne peuvent pas avoir accès à des systèmes d'assainissement et leurs conditions d'hygiène sont vraiment dégradées. Une des premières choses à faire quand il y a une situation d'urgence, c'est de pouvoir assurer ces droits et pour que les gens puissent avoir accès à l'eau, à l'assainissement et à l'hygiène.
Ensuring protection in an emergency and in a situation where you have camps means to be able to prevent human rights violation and protect the people in the camps. After the earthquake, you had people moving from slums to camps where they were deprived of a number of services such as shelter, food, water sanitation, but also they could face acts of violence like gender-based violence, organized violence, forced evictions, particularly in private lands. For example, in the case of gender-based violence, you will make sure that legal assistance is provided to the victims in the camps where they face incidents of GBV. The primary responsibility is with the state, but sometimes, of course, in a conflict situation or in such a context, the state is or unwilling or unable to protect. So the international community and the UN agency then have an obligation to protect as well, to protect civilians and to protect people in the camps.
Après une catastrophe passée, pour connaître combien de victimes ou gain, combien de monde qui victime, combien de monde qui vous supporter préparer réponse, c'est évaluation pour faire pour nous faire enregistrement de tous les déplacés. Pour faire service d'enregistrement, l'obral for distribution. Monde qui pas victime, qu'on y a voir essayer pour bénéficier et réponse au porté. Monde qui victime yo vraiment yo pas ka gagner et joindre ça que m'te cadeau qui destiné à eux même.
Communication is really important in an emergency situation, in particular in camp management, because you have usually a displaced population, their social bonds are broken, maybe temporarily or perhaps even permanently. The program side of the camp management operation will do the assessments. They will do the core drill down into what does the population really need here and what are the concerns that need to be urgently addressed. Our job is to take those messages, refine them into agreed key messages using tools of mass communication, tools of immediate communication, and tools to capture and monitor what's going on. You can counteract rumours, because rumours are very dangerous. So in other words, you've got to really work with the population, either find somebody from the population or coordinate and collaborate with them. Film is a very, very useful tool. It's a bit more complicated, but the technology is also getting cheaper and easier to use. Communication in the camp really doesn't end, because it has to segue into how can we set about getting the sinews of the society back together again.
Chaque fois que me rencontre un d'amour. Allô? La montée coule à 48 $ les qui est en route. Devoir nous, c'est la population de l'eau chaque jour. Malgré son camp qui vraiment qui très large, mais d'a dit peut-être son camp peut-être occupé 24 heures avec la police, mais à l'aide de comité, alors de surveillance, comité de gestion quand vraiment nous pas confronter problème. Sur terrain.
Dans toute gestion, dans tout comité, nous impliquons les gens qui sont victimes pour permettre, pour voir qu'ils font partie des comités, ils font partie de ça, et solutions nous devons porter pour eux, de façon que pour jouer une meilleure réponse.
The three durable solutions are returning an IDP to their place of origin. Secondly is resettlement or relocation. You find or identify a piece of land where they can be relocated and hence furnished with adequate means of housing, health, food, basic infrastructure, etc. The third option is called camp regularization and community integration, which is turning some camps into their surrounding communities. So we regularize their occupancy status, so they're no longer considered squatters, and then you integrate them into the community.
Et là que vous venez trouver que au Kabaye, chaque population, chaque famille qui est victime ont toit qui est respectable et qui est acceptable, c'est là ça que vous allez faire des cadeaux, vous allez voir famille, vous allez retourner famille dans la caille, là ça que au cas en mesure pour dire que au cas fermer un camp. Pour le moment, le gouvernement fait un pile effort là, la gain un pile camp qui a fermé là. Par exemple, pour nous côté champ de masse là, champ de masse presque vient fermé. Il y a l'autre camp qui est déjà fermé. Il faut que les que pour faire mon camp, il faut que des cadeaux conditions réunies pour faire mes camps. Il faut que vous toit pour les gens qui sont déplacés, les gens qui ont perdu tout bagage, il faut permettre de prendre la vie, soit économique tout bagage ça yo. Les ça en mesure pour faire mes camps.
Une machine ça fon fouiller là m'soti tête moi pour demander ça qui passe on est qui dit mais c'est pas danger c'est bito va la gueule nous mettre quitter l'aller